Yeah, that goes quick.
I think that's it, isn't it?
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. I'm going to call the May 5th Washington County Council meeting to order. We will start. Mr. Gilbert will lead us with the pledge, followed by Mr. Fleming with the prayer.
Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pray with me. Kind, gracious Father in heaven, we approach thy throne of grace and we give you the honor so deserving. We're just thankful, Father, this morning for the portion of health and the mindset that allows us to be out and to take part in this discussion of those things that are right and proper that might benefit the citizens of our county. This morning, we pray for all those who have leadership roles. We pray for the president and all of his help that he has with him. We pray that decisions which will be made at the highest level, even at our local level, will be decisions that are not contrary to your will. Be with us and save us. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, good morning once again. Got a pretty full agenda here this morning. So first things first, we kind of started or changed our meeting process, and usually we allow for public comment this morning, and we had a sign-up sheet up there. No one signed, I don't believe. So all right, we'll roll on to the next item for consideration. First off, I need an approval for the meeting minutes from April the 7th.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Shell, second by Mr. Davison. All those in favor, right hand. Okay, motion carries. Next on the agenda, Angie Buchanan is here to discuss some abatements. These were abatements that we had approved prior. We're just checking to make sure that all the abatements are in compliance.
Good morning. And
Morning.
that is correct. So every year annually, I bring to you guys on behalf of our local businesses or utilities that have approved abatements their annual compliance documents. So these compliance documents get recorded and filed every year by May the 15th. And so we have those completed forms from all of, like I said, these businesses and or utilities for approval this morning. The first one that I have is Sullivan's Concrete Coating. They were approved for an abatement last year. And so this is their first annual compliance document. Everything is still operating as they had stated. They are originally started with 20 employees. As of today, they were at 23 employees, and their salaries have increased nearly $100,000 from where they were when they first filed for the abatement. So based on, what they stated they would be doing, they are continuing to kind of meet those parameters in terms from a business perspective, as well as their employee base. So I would, recommend to the council that we would want to kind of approve their compliance document. But I have Sullivan's here. And then I also have 3 of our utility companies. So these were abatements that were approved a number of years ago for putting in fiber throughout our county. And so this is our Telemedia Solutions, which is more that Pekin area. And then we have Orange County REMC, who has fiber in the western portion. And then we have Jackson County REMC that also has fiber throughout our county. And so they have each completed all of the compliance documents for that utility abatement that was granted, like I said, a few years ago. This is a 10-year abatement. They still have about 6 years left on these. But again, they are still holding strong with their number of employees and, of course, the service that they provided to our community as a result of this abatement with these. And I believe that you guys had an emailed copy. I have the printed copies, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. But I wanted to come here today to seek your approval on the compliance documents for, Sullivan's Concrete Coating, Telemedia Solutions, Jackson County REMC, and Orange County REMC.
Okay, any questions for Angie on those? Alyssa?
Yes.
Might be able to explain this a little better too with
I just want to make sure everyone understands the procedures for this and looking at these forms. And so, Angie, you can, of course, correct me if I'm off on anything. But when you're looking at these substantial compliance forms, there's a column in section 3 that says as estimated on SB-1. That's the original statement of benefits that would have been submitted for this project. So you can see on this form that first column is what they estimated as far as number of employees and salaries, and then the second column there is actual. So when the council is looking at substantial compliance, that's one piece that you can look at to feel comfortable knowing what this company or this utility said that they were going to be doing, which is why we granted them the abatement originally. Are they actually doing it? Are they meeting those numbers? Are they close to those numbers? So pursuant to Indiana code, the council does have to approve each of these each year. If there were a specific instance where the council was not going to approve and say that they were not in substantial compliance, you have to actually give a written explanation within 45 days of receiving this form explaining why they're not in substantial compliance. There will be a hearing, and there would be a secondary finding after that. So there is more of a procedure that goes along with it if any of these were of concern that the council didn't want to approve. We would have to give a written explanation of that. Like many things in the law, substantial compliance is not defined. It is applied with your discretion, just like standards of reasonableness, foreseeability. It's just not a perfectly black and white. And so that's why Angie's here. She can ask you questions or answer your questions if you have any about the forms. But there isn't really a bright line rule for what qualifies as substantial compliance.
Are these all these 10-year? Or what's the years?
All of these are, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
when all of
okay.
the abatements were approved, they were
Okay.
approved as
I thought
10
they were.
years. And then when the council approved the statement of benefits for Sullivan's Concrete Coating, they did that for 10 years too. And of course, pending review annually to
Right.
ensure that substantial compliance was
Right.
agreed upon.
Okay. So you need a motion for all of them or individually?
individually. I think we need to do it that way, correct?
Individually. Okay, I'll make a motion we accept Sullivan's.
Okay, need a second by Andrew. All those in favor, right hand on the Sullivans. Okay, then I need a motion for the telemedia abatement. Mr. Gilbert, second by Mr. Fleming. All those in favor? Thank you. And then the Orange County abatement.
I'll make a motion, Orange County.
Okay, Preston with the motion, Todd with the second. All those in favor? Thank you. And then Jackson County.
Make a motion, Jackson County.
Okay, Preston with the motion, second by Gerald. All those in favor, right hand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And
Yeah, I will say that, you know, this, we have to make sure that they're compliant, which all of these are very beneficial to our county. Moving forward, when we have these now, the new process went into play, so anything from this point forward has to go through that process, so.
correct. And
Yep.
I'm going to give you these copies
Okay,
for
to
signature.
sign.
Thank you.
Gotcha. All righty, thank you, Angie. Next on our agenda this morning, looks like Kelly Sargent here from Dispatch. Gonna go. Kelly was here at the last meeting and explained the situation they were wanting to do there with the dispatch, so we'll let him kind of just quickly go over that again, and then we'll need to have a motion or something if we want to make that come to fruition for him.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you guys for seeing me today. This is just a follow-up from the meeting that we had back in
Pull
April.
the mic down, please.
Pardon?
Thank
Is
you.
this better?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
This is from the meeting that we had last month, and seeking your approval so that we can move forward with the implementation of a shift lead process that we have in dispatch. We no longer have a chief dispatcher. That position is now vacated, and to optimize supervisory presence and overall coverage, I would ask that you guys would approve having a shift lead. We'd have one on days and one on nights. And I think we discussed in the last meeting of how they would be compensated. It was put out in what I gave to you guys. If there's any questions that anyone has for me, I can answer them. But as soon as, if we can get your approval, I'd like to go ahead and move forward with that so we can get these people identified, get them promoted and in place as soon as possible.
Basically, there wasn't really, it was a lateral move.
Correct?
So they're doing away with the chief dispatch, making 2 shift leads, which will help them with their shifts. That way, they've got somebody in charge at that time. Otherwise, they were having to refer to him, middle of the night, whatever. This will alleviate that, so.
But they're doing it in a way it doesn't cost the county.
It doesn't cost us any more
Yeah,
money.
and I appreciate you being creative on that.
The only thing I will say with that, if you guys ever get to the point where you want to put a chief dispatch back into things, you know, I would ask that you come back to the council for approval on that, because that would change maybe the money structure of it.
No, absolutely. I think we're going to move forward with this right now. If this works out, then, like I said, we'll see how things develop. But I think moving forward, and I've spoken with the sheriff, and we've discussed this at length, and we both believe that this is the best way to move forward to benefit not only the people that are in dispatch right now, but also to dispatch the operations as we see it now.
Questions for Kelly on that? Everybody good? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Wait, second.
Second by Preston, motion made by Mr. Fleming. All those in favor, right hand. Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you,
Kelly.
everyone.
All right, Mr. Miller.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for allowing us the opportunity to be here this morning, myself and my staff. I'm going to introduce you to my new jail commander, it's Captain Jimmy Ward, and then on his right is the jail lieutenant, David Locke. I brought them with me today because I was expecting there would be quite a few questions regarding the jail, and I figured they live back there in the jail and they might be better at answering some of your questions. The reason we're here today is to talk about a couple of line items that I included in my budget request last year for additional jailers. I asked for 2 additional jail positions, and when the budget was approved, the positions are still in my budget, but there was no funding in there, and it was explained to me that it wasn't
cut from the budget, but the council would like for us to fill all of our positions, and if we still had a need for those positions, then we could talk about funding. So that's why we're here today, to talk about staffing shortages back in the detention center, try to give a little bit better explanation to you as to what the jail staff does during an average day, and all the contributing factors that contribute to being short-staffed. With that being said, I'm going to have Lieutenant Locke pass out some things here. This is the daily duties of jail staff. You may have received an email last night of this.
Yeah, we have it.
You've got that? Okay, good deal.
Yeah, we do.
Good deal. Okay, so going down through this list, I'm not going to sit there and cover everything on this list. But before I get started on that, what I'd like to do is, I know you haven't had an opportunity to look at it because you just got that this morning. There was also a staffing plan for the Washington County Jail, a staffing analysis that was done last summer. Those are recommended that they be done about every 3 to 5 years. I've been the sheriff for 6 years and we have not done one. The reason they recommend that those are done every 3 to 5 years is because things change. And as they change, you may have a need for more staff or less staff depending on the changes. Also, to help you understand some of the things that we're going to talk about today, I want to extend an open invitation to anybody. Some of you have been to the Sheriff's Department and you have toured the detention center. Some of you have not. You are welcome to come anytime for a tour of the jail to better understand our needs at the jail and how it works. A lot of people, when they come through, that have no idea what we do in a day's time up at the jail, is kind of amazed at all of the moving parts that happen throughout the day. So again, I'm going to give an open invitation to anybody to come at any point in time to better understand these things. Looking down through the daily duties of the jail, a lot of these things are done on a daily basis. Some of these things that are included in there are done once a week, twice a week, or once every 30 days. And I'm not going to go over each and every one of those with you. I'll let you read those at some point in time. But a couple of things that I want to bring up on here, some important things back on about page 3, things that have asterisks with them, that the jail officers are required to receive a minimum of 16 hours of yearly training. And I'm going to let Captain Ward talk a little more about that here in just a little bit. There is also, did you get the handout that says trips to detention center? Okay, that was prepared by Myra Albertson with the probation department. That is a big contributing factor to things that I wanted to bring up. Basically, what is on that list of things that was prepared by Myra, some of you are well aware of the situation that we're in with juvenile detention centers. There basically are next to none in southern Indiana, with the exception of Clark County. Clark County only has 10 beds. They normally hold those beds for their juveniles. Every once in a while we get lucky enough that they will take some, but more often than not, when we have to house juveniles, they have to go out of the county and north of Indianapolis. Some of these trips are 4 and 5 hour round trips to take these juveniles. As you can see, the mileage is on here. Up to like Dickinson Juvenile Detention Center, 82 miles. Vigo County is 115. Hamilton County, 125. Delaware County, 149. As you can see, some of those farther ones, we haven't used them as often, but still we do at times have to do that. And when those juveniles go there, that requires a jailer to come out of the jail to transport that juvenile, and there's going to be about 4 to 5 hours that jailer is not in the jail because of that transport. And when they go there, they have to come back. The dates in the right-hand column, they tell you when the juvenile got there and when the juvenile was released. So everything that goes to a juvenile detention center obviously has to come back. And as you can see, some of those were kind of lengthy stays. They were more than a few days. Some of those juveniles will come back for a hearing within 2 to 3 days, and then they return back to the juvenile detention center until their next court date. So that gets to be quite a few road trips back and forth to the juvenile detention centers, which takes up our jailers. And then when they come back from court, it also requires the jail officers to sit in court with them while they're in court, which again takes them out of the jail. There is another list in there that you should have received that talks about the medical side of things, and that's in that first report, the one that says the duties, daily duties of jail staff. If you look back to page 4, it's got inmates transported to doctor visits, and you can see that, and I just asked the nurse to go back for approximately the last year, and you can see that there were 34 trips where jail staff had to take an inmate from the jail to a doctor visit. And those doctor visits, some of them are here in the county, some of them are out of the county. It just depends on where they go. But again, that shortens our staff in the jail. The last page on there is inmate transports to the emergency room. And you can see there were 24 trips approximately to the emergency room in the past year. Of those 24 trips, there were 6 inmates that were admitted to the hospital. When they become admitted to the hospital, that becomes a huge burden on the Sheriff's Department because I don't have the staff to sit with them at the hospitals. Sometimes we are able to do medical furloughs, sometimes we are not. We've been pretty lucky on some of these to be able to get the judge to do a medical furlough because they were low offense offenders. And so basically the judge gives them a medical furlough, and we bring our jail staff back to the jail, and then when they get released from the hospital, they have to come back to jail. Sometimes that's not possible. Recently, we had one that was not possible because she was sentenced to DOC. Our local hospital sent her all the way to Indianapolis to be hospitalized. She was there for 11 days. You can only imagine what that did to my staff to try to provide 24-hour coverage with an inmate at a hospital in Indianapolis for 11 days, 24 hours around the clock. It was a lot of trips back and forth in cars every day. It really put an impact on my fuel budget and my overtime budget. At the same time that we had that inmate there, we also had another one that was sentenced to DOC that was pregnant and was due in just a couple of weeks, and we were crossing our fingers that we would get her to DOC before she delivered that baby. And we did get her there. Had she delivered that early, again, I don't know how we would have even sat on her at the hospital, and she was sentenced to DOC, so that would not have been one that we could have got a medical furlough for. Another reason why we could use some extra staffing in the jail. There's also DOC transports. I know you did not get this one because Captain Ward brought that to me this morning. Just another important thing that the jail staff does. These are transports of inmates. We hold the level 6 felonies at the Washington County Jail. We get paid for that. They pay us one amount yearly. Doesn't matter whether we hold 1 or whether we hold 100. We get the same amount. Those people that are convicted of level 1 through 5 felonies go to DOC. When DOC tells us that they can be brought there, then we bring them there. And that's what this document is that Lieutenant Locke is passing out, is how many DOC transports we've done since October of last year to the current. And that's 59 males and 29 females. I'm going to let Captain Ward talk for just a minute about some daily things that go on there at the jail that creates staffing issues for us, and how these things can be, we can have an impact on helping the staffing issue if we add those 2 jailers to our budget, if we can get the funding for that.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here today. We'll start off just kind of by defining a couple things before we really get into some numbers. Court typically takes place around 7 times a week right now. That is morning court, afternoon court. It's usually about once a month we have a third court, Judge Striegel's court, and then on those days sometimes we run 3 courts all at one time. So just kind of give you an idea there. There are some days where court does not take place, but even still, we're still right around 7 courts a week. Court usually starts at about 9 a.m. Court has run until noon multiple times Well, I should say several times. Just last week, we were in there till 11:30 and noon, 3 days. So you're tying up staff for 2.5, 3 hours straight for court. The way court works is if one court's running, I've got one officer in the courtroom itself with the inmates. We have a bullpen where the inmates are in holding, waiting to go to court. If we have females, which we almost always have females go to court at the same time as the males, we need to have an officer posted in the bullpen, right? We don't want any terrible things to happen on our watch. So that ties up 2 officers at a time. Our staffing, our minimum staffing is 3. Right now, we're fully staffed, so we've got 4 on each shift. If I have 2 officers in court, that means I only have 2 officers in the jail. The way our postings work, right, we have booking, and that's typically where we hold our medical watches, people who are suicidal, things of that nature, things that require constant observation, 15-minute observation checks. So I've got 1 officer posted in booking, and then I've got 1 officer posted in the tower. Makes it really, really hard if anything were to happen in the jail at that time, because I have 0 people left at that point to respond to a fight or a medical emergency, but not even emergency situations when meal pass happens. Meal pass is somewhere around 10:30, 10:45. Doesn't matter if it's that time or not, it's going to end up overlapping with court. And when that happens, I've got somewhere around 10 to 15 inmates in court who aren't getting their food when they're supposed to be getting their food. When I get hungry, right, it's usually a bad day. Same thing for these guys, right? So we like to try to stay on schedule, creatures of habit. That's what we are, that's what the inmates are. So we try to get those guys fed at the same time every day. Court kind of overlaps that, and I don't have the manpower right now to really fix that. Next up, again, number of inmates taken to court. I've seen it I've seen it as many as 25. Obviously, the 25 is a rough day. So,
Captain Moore, can I elaborate a little bit more
absolutely.
on that? On these court dates, what we call Judge Striegel Day, Judge Striegel is there having a special court because he's taking the cases that's a conflict of interest for Judge Houchin. Anything that he was a prosecutor on that wasn't finished before he became a judge requires a special judge to do that now. And we've been doing that for 2.5 years. We're hoping to eventually do away with that court, that we will get that all worked out, but who knows how long that's going to take. But while court is going on, there are multiple other things going on in the jail that requires jailers that we don't have, such as there may be inmates that are in other jails that have to come for hearings that day, and we'll send a jailer out to go get these inmates to bring them to the jail for the hearings that day. Or they may be an inmate that has a doctor visit that day, and a jailer had to take somebody to the doctor that day while these things are still going on. Or we have a nurse that's doing what she does every day, and it requires her sometimes to have an officer with her when she's passing meds and doing things throughout the jail. Or the maintenance crew is fixing things in the jail that's going on through the daytime, and sometimes they have to have a jailer with them when they're inside those cell blocks working. Sometimes you may have an exterminator in there through the daytime that's trying to do his job in the jail, that a jailer has to be with him as well as they're going through there. And we just simply don't have the people to do this. And so to help cover some of this stuff, myself and the Chief Deputy Shepherd help out in court on a lot of those court days because we simply don't have the staff to do that. And sometimes Chief Deputy Shepherd and I can't be available to do that, so then we pull the animal control officer off the road and we stick him in court to help run court. Well, then that helps us in the court, but then he's not getting his calls answered out there on the road. Sometimes we also use Mark Blackman, our process server. We'll pull him off the road and stick him in court. Or we use the animal control and the transport officers to do transports through the day. They may be taking inmates to doctor appointments and things again to offset that staff that we don't have. We've even had to have the maintenance guys help out as jailers at times in the jail back there, and even the cook in the kitchen sometimes will come out and do things in the jail. And we don't really want these people coming away from their jobs to help out in the jail, but we've been doing that to try to cover ends and make things meet, because there are just so many moving parts that go on through the daytime that it makes it very difficult to meet the logistics of everything to make it work.
Yeah, I called that robbing Peter to pay Paul. The sheriff, the chief, Captain Keltner, the process server, animal control, all of these guys have had to come run court for us, cover transports for us, you know, some stuff that a jail should be self-sufficient enough to kind of take care of. Because if we short the jail, right, the inmates are potentially at risk, the officers are potentially at risk. When we short the road, the general public starts to be the one that kind of pays the toll, pays the tax on that. And neither of those are great options. However, you know, the general population not having an officer to respond, I think we can all agree that's a pretty serious thing. None of us would want that to happen on our watch. We talked about some DOC, 59 males, 29 females so far. This is since October. This is when I was hired, is October. So this is when I could verify. So that's kind of the date I chose to go back to. When we send the DOC, you'll see some of those groups are pretty big groups. We have a minivan, Durango, and a couple Caprices that we use for transports. You know, if we have 10, we have 11, then we're going to have to send 2 vehicles. You know, a 1-to-5 ratio isn't optimal. I know the sheriff is big on trying to send a couple off a vehicle when we have that kind of a ratio. That's pretty hard to do as it stands. So we don't want to generate overtime, but to do that and to do that safely right now, we go into overtime to do that. The juveniles, so again, we get notified pretty late, you know, and sporadically on the juveniles. Something happens, the county is responsible for transporting them, so we get notified. So we're trying to call our on-call. We're trying to get people in to cover that. Again, creates overtime. With a couple additional positions, I think we'd be able to flex that time a little bit more because they wouldn't be shift staff. They would be kind of off on their own independent, and they could come in 4 hours late the next day. Extreme example the sheriff talked about, the inmate ingested her glasses lens and her glasses frames. So that's why she was up there for 11 days. It's a pretty serious thing. It really took a toll on our staff. You know, we've got one officer who's, it really put a strain on relationship stuff, and he's looking for work somewhere else now. He's still employed with us, but he wants to be employed somewhere else just to avoid having that happen to him again. And I've reassured him, hopefully this is a freak thing, but you know, these are the types of things not having the coverage kind of leads to. And I'm hoping that we're still working on that guy. Retention, helping to alleviate overtime helps with retention, right? Again, that guy's example, but just in general, just a constant strain, even if we didn't have the extreme example. But what it also does is it kind of gives something to look forward to. If I'm on a shift, I can look towards, oh, there's a chance I might be able to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I might aspire to that position, and I might stick around a little bit longer, right? I think upward mobility is important. As many people as we can put between line staff and administration, I think helps with retention, and this would be an opportunity to create some more layers of depth between those two spots. Sheriff asked me to talk a little bit about the mandatory training. It's 16 hours annually. The way we have it broken up right now is 4 hours of suicide prevention, and that is state mandated. 4 hours of CPR, also state mandated, and 4 hours of medical first aid, state mandated. So that leaves us 4 hours of wiggle room right now. We tend to choose firearms for that simply so we have people available to do transports. We don't want to send people to do transports without firearms. We don't want to send you out in a marked vehicle if you can't defend yourself. So that's our breakdown of training. I'll be honest, I would love to expand that. We have a ton of new staff, a ton of inexperienced staff that I would love to be able to get trained a little bit more proficiently, mainly for, you know, just to be able to be a little more litigation proof, right? Because the more training you have, the more padding you have, the more litigation proof you are. And I would like to focus on that a little bit more, but the strain on staff right now and the overtime that it's creating does not make training as doable as I would hope. So, Sheriff, did I leave anything out?
Well, I just want to emphasize about the liability. I think you guys have heard me say this before, and I'll say it again several times over, that part of my job is to look at liability and to try to reduce the liability on the county, and by adding staff members will help reduce that liability. That's probably been one of my biggest problems since I've been the sheriff, is that the mental health and the medical health of the inmates has drastically changed over the years. And you can understand that the repeated drug use and abuse to hardcore drugs such as meth and heroin and fentanyl, that has really changed the overall health and mental health of inmates. A lot of them, when they come to jail, have a foot in the grave and a foot in the jail. It is creating tons of issues for us there at the Sheriff's Department, which also increases your liability and things. And again, we have more people on suicide watch than we've ever had before. We have more people on medical watch than ever before. And when you have those people on those special watches, like Captain Ward said, they have to be checked on every 15 minutes. And if you don't have the staff to do that, that opens yourself to liability, because we've told our staff it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, we have to do those. And that's why Captain Ward has posted a corrections officer there in Bookend, where the primary holding cells are, that we keep people, because the nurses station is also there at Bookend. So in order to try to reduce that liability and things, we're making these adjustments to try to get ahead of this. And again, like I said, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. You've seen, you look at Mugshot Monday, you see some of the pictures in the Mugshot Monday, and we've got people in their 60s and 70s that are coming to jail on drug charges, which, 10 years ago was almost unheard of. But it is an ever-changing world, and we're trying to keep up with it, and that's basically why we're here today. I'm assuming, did everybody get a copy of that staffing study that was done?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't going to go through that with you unless you would like for me to go through that with you, or unless you've had a chance to look it over. I know on short notice you probably not. Some of you may have, because I sent it out once before to everybody. And if you've got questions about that, be more than happy to answer that. Or if you've got some of the questions about DOC billing, that's why I brought Lieutenant Locke with me, because he is responsible for the DOC billing. If you will remember, when I came back in here in the middle of the summer, I told you that we had to work on the pay to get a jail commander there, because we couldn't find one. I told you that we had the former jail commander did not do any DOC billing for 18 months, and you told me to make sure that that did not happen again. And Lieutenant Locke has been all over that. I sent articles out to everyone, I believe, here recently, a newspaper article about DOC being out of money, and we have not been paid since August or September of last year. However, I have been in contact with DOC and the Indiana Sheriff's Association, and when the budget cycle starts July 1 for the state, we will get reimbursed for all these claims for DOC billing that we've been turning in, so we will have money coming in. They also are taking a look at this, the current system that they're under is where they pay a set fee a year for the level 6s. I think they're going to go away from that. That guaranteed money that you have coming in every year will not necessarily be guaranteed anymore. They're going to go back to where you have to bill for every level 6 person. So that actually could mean that number could go up, that we could actually generate more money if they change the way that they bill that. But to answer your questions about the DOC billing, Lieutenant Locke has been doing that. They have been slowly approving those, and so we will get the money. It's just we have to get into a new budget year in order to get that, and they are changing that daily per diem from $37.50 to $42 a day, which is still not great, but it's better than where it was at.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff, how does your, I haven't heard mention here anything at all about your reserve program, or reserves helping out, or do you have reserves now, or what's going on there?
Reserve program is almost something that doesn't exist anymore.
How come? Why?
Well, you can't find people to take the paid jobs, let alone to volunteer. We do have some reserve in the department.
It shouldn't have changed much from when I was there on reserves.
Well, I can assure you that it has, and you can talk to about any police agency and they'll tell you, the proof is in the pudding. We can't even find officers, paid officers, to take the paid positions now. You just can't expect people to come out and volunteer their time to do that. And I do have some reserves still on our department, and some of those guys, we work them to death. We call them a lot to come out, and I can assure you that we also...
Well, you didn't mention it, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, when we have a transport, I'll ask the dispatch to go down the list, and they'll start calling each one of those reserves till we can see if we can find somebody to do it, because obviously we want to utilize them first versus
Right.
paying overtime.
Right.
But those people all have paying jobs, and they volunteer, and so
Right.
most of them are not available during the daytime. And, reserves are something that obviously I would love to have more of, because that would be a big help to the department, but the sad part about it is reserves are just almost a thing of the past anymore. But we still do have some reserves, and we still use them. In fact, one of our jailers is a reserve for us, and he's doing transports today as a reserve to save us money, which I greatly appreciate that, because, normally if he wouldn't have stepped up today, we'd have been paying somebody to go do these transports today, but he's
Right.
doing it
I understand.
as a reserve to get his reserve hours in, so.
I know you need help. I just thought I'd throw it out there, because
Yeah.
most sheriff's departments has the good reserve programs. Most of them do, so I didn't know what.
Well, again, I go to the sheriff conferences and I talk to the other sheriffs in other counties, and I know that everybody has got the same problems that we have. It's not just isolated to Washington County. It's everywhere, and
Right.
it's not just a Indiana issue. It's a nationwide issue. The numbers of police officers are down.
Right.
That pool of people wanting to be police officers is down, and used to be probably 8 or 9 out of 10 officers on our department all started out in corrections, and most people would take those corrections jobs with plans to be police officers, but that's not necessarily the case anymore
Right.
either. Most of our jailers do not necessarily aspire to be police officers.
Right.
Again, because, for example, what happened to Deputy Andrew over in Orange County, here a few months back, you stop on a traffic assist to assist a motorist and you get shot.
Right.
I know of a kid that went to Vincennes University. He graduated a year or so ago with a degree in law enforcement, and I've tried to get the kid to put an application in and apply, and he said he doesn't feel like getting shot for $50,000 a year, and he's farming now. And I can't say that I blame him. It's getting to be harder and harder to find people to take these jobs, and especially, again, to find somebody that's willing to go out here and do it for free. So I do appreciate you asking that question, and we do have some reserves, but again, I don't have a huge list of people that are available 24/7, and we do have dispatch check that list when we need somebody to try to save money.
Right. Right.
So, you've mentioned overtime several times. Do you have a list of how much overtime has been accumulated over the last year, and how much we're paying in overtime, and how much estimated would be saved that could be put toward these positions? I like people that come with a solution in hand, and that would be a great way to do it. If you could come with those hours and say, we can save 40 hours a week in overtime, we're going to pay for that position just in overtime.
And I totally understand that. In our business, it's a little difficult to give you an accurate number, because react to things as they happen, and there's no set way. It's not like a regular job where you know what you're going to do every day. We never know when probation is going to need a transport and lock somebody up.
No,
we never.
I know, but historically, you could look over the last year and say, we've had 100 hours overtime, or we've had 1,000 hours overtime. And come with a historical representation
Sure.
of what you're paying in overtime.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you with Michelle's report that she sent to me on May the 1st that we have went through a huge amount of our overtime for the year already in the first 4 months. We've already went through probably close to half of our overtime budget. And again, it's even the fuel guy, when he came to fill up our fuel tank this past week, said, "Hey, you guys went through an awful lot of fuel here in the last couple of weeks. You got some fuel missing somewhere or something?" And when the maintenance guy came to me, I said, "No, we don't have any fuel missing." I said, the fuel was spent in the last 2 weeks going to Indianapolis back and forth. That took a lot more fuel than what we normally do, and thank goodness we don't normally have that. But again, there are so many things that happen that we don't have any control over, that we have to react to the things rather than, but I can definitely work on that, try to get you a number to tell you how much to have that. If I can get with Michelle to try to break down some numbers, we can try to go over how much has been spent on overtime.
Does have any questions for Brent?
Just
Yeah.
want to probably make a note. I know when I spoke with you guys, we mentioned training, and it should probably be noted to you guys that these jailers don't require going to the police academy. That's the 16 hours of training that he's talking about. So these are easier positions for you to fill than actual road officers, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and on that note, we do have 4 guys on the waiting list right now to hire. So I've got 4 people that I've already got them in for interviews. Let them know, hey, there's a chance this could be coming down the road. Just giving you a heads up. I can hire you today because I'm full staffed. But if this comes to pass, would you be interested still? Well, yeah, I can wait a little while. Great. So we do have people ready and waiting.
And to follow up a little bit on your question, these 2 positions would be, in theory 8 to 4, but there would be the understanding that they would flex whenever needed. So if we had someone get admitted to the hospital, okay, one of you will work 6 to 6 to cover that, the other will work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. to cover that. That way we'd have more flexibility. It wouldn't change our minimum.
But it should cut down on that overtime
Absolutely.
drastically.
Yes.
And make the jail safer.
Right.
The 2 biggest points, I think.
I mean, in my thinking, it appears to me that you guys have done an effective job trying to fill this void. I appreciate it very much with all that you've come up with so far to try to fill this void. Is there such a thing? I'm sorry, I'm old school. Is there such a thing as a transport officer now that could even be considered part-time for transportation? I mean, is that something that was ever available?
We had a designated transport officer at one time, and then that transport officer got promoted to the jail lieutenant, so we kind of merged the 2 together. And unfortunately, when he took on the jail lieutenant position, he no longer could dedicate that time to transport, and that's what they're wanting to do with one of these 2 positions, is designate that to transport, to try to take care of a lot of these transports, to reduce that overtime in the transports, and to be able to allow us to keep other people in the jail. Because when, for example, as Captain Ward said, if you don't know, we have 18 jailers in the jail right now. That includes the 2 supervisory staff, so it leaves us with 16. That divides up into 4 equal shifts of 4. We require a minimum of 3 at all times on duty in the jail. So if we've got 4 in there in the jail and somebody has to go do a transport, now we're down to 3. And then let's say while he's doing that transport, an inmate has a medical issue and has to go to the hospital. Well, now that there's another jailer going to go to the hospital, that leaves you 2. Somebody's got to get called in to cover. And then there's where we're getting a lot of overtime too, is because we have to have that minimum of 3 coverage in the jail. And when people are taken out of the jail for things, and we got to call somebody to come in and cover for those shifts in order to keep us at that minimum of 3 back there in the jail. And that's a very thin 3 to have 3 back there. Again, I think it would be nice if you had more than that, obviously. But I think that, I'm going to be honest with you, I think we need more than 2. But 2 was the number I came with that I thought I could get.
I think you've said that in the past,
Yeah.
I recall. Yeah.
And I do appreciate everybody. You've got some good questions and things, and you're absolutely right. As Captain Ward said, we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for a long time to trying to make this happen. And there's a lot of stress fractures and things because of it, and to try to get things smoothed out and to iron out so that I would feel safer about the liability issues. Obviously having 2 more people would make a big difference in that. And
I thought maybe not, I'm sorry about interrupting you, but I thought maybe there may be some state qualifications that transport officers would have to have and maybe be still more in line to a police officer as opposed to just the title of a transport officer. Are there different qualifications that come into play with just a transport officer?
They could take the 40-hour course, couldn't they? I mean, and give them everything you need.
Usually it's, a lot of places, it's just a jailer out of the jail.
Is it?
They have the same training that jailers have. It's just that they're people that are able to qualify with a firearm, because they have to have a firearm, as Captain Ward said.
Right.
You wouldn't want to put somebody in a marked unit and put a target on their back, they're not even be able to defend themselves.
No.
And so most sheriff's departments will take a jailer out of the jail and they'll make them a transport officer, and that's what they do. And there's benefits to having one person doing those transports, because there's a lot of prisons out there and a lot of juvenile correctional facilities, and they're all different, and you have to know how to get into them and things. And if you send the same person all the time, they pretty much know what it's like at Branchville, what it's like at Rockville,
Right.
what it's like at these different places, and it helps out. But it's also nice, for your jail staff, they'll tell you this, it's nice for them to be able to get out of the jail every once in a while and get away from that and go do transports, and so it is nice to allow other ones to do it, and it's getting to the point where there are so many transports, it's very difficult to assign one person to be your transport officer and to get it done, because, okay, typically your transport officers are working Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And they're taking care of a lot of, if somebody in another county arrests somebody on one of our warrants, they go get them during the daytime and bring them here. If somebody has to go to a doctor's appointment, they take them. And those occur during the daytime. The things that you don't know about is of an evening when a juvenile does something and probation calls and says, hey, we got a court order, we need one taken to a detention center somewhere. And then we got to find somebody to do that. Well, your transport guy already worked 8 to 4 today. So now you're going to have to find a jailer out of the jail to come do it, or call somebody in to do that, or try to find a reserve to do that, which we do.
Or with the transport officer being that 8 to 4, we have time as well.
Sure.
In order to deter overtime.
So these guys you really need on day shift, but they could be flexible also, like you said.
Sure.
Right.
And I'm going to be honest with you, we've tried having what we call floaters.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to find anybody that wants to float, because it just don't work with most people's home life. And it's very difficult to get those people to float. But the staff, I do know, we would like for people to flex things, and we try to flex things when we can to try to help the budget. And sometimes we can get that done, and sometimes you can't, because like I said, we've had floaters, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. It's just very difficult to find somebody to take these jobs that have a flexible family life to where they can do that. They can float and back and forth, but obviously in the ideal world that would be nice to have floaters to be able to do those things. But we do try to flex things when we can to try to help out.
I just want to comment quickly, because you heard the sheriff and his staff talk about liability and litigation, and I've had the opportunity to represent sheriff's departments and counties and claims brought by inmates, and so I just want to comment quickly on that and just kind of elaborate on the things that you mentioned and the benefits of litigation and risk protection with more drug use and more mental health issues when people are getting brought in and they're combative. That leads, and I'm not talking about this department, but in cases that I've worked on for other counties, it's very common for those to end up with excessive force claims, with all of the medical needs. If medical needs aren't met, if people aren't taken to hospitals promptly, that leads to conditions of confinement claims. These are all constitutional civil rights claims that inmates bring a lot of times without lawyers. They have nothing to lose by bringing these claims, only something to gain. Because they're federal claims, they're almost always filed in federal court. The federal judges in Indiana and the Seventh Circuit, which is the federal district that we're in, have routinely said that when claims are brought by pro se individuals without attorneys, they're given extreme leniency in asserting their claims and proceeding with their claims, which means when you're defending those claims, they're very, very difficult to get dismissed, at least early on. So you might go through a year or 2 years of discovery. When they miss deadlines, they're given extensions. It's just a very long process. Also, with insurance, anytime an inmate brings a civil rights claim, those all have the risk of punitive damages, which are in most insurance policies not covered. So if that were something that ever did proceed to court and proceed to any sort of judgment, there's always the risk of having uninsured exposure for the sheriff's department and the county. And we live more and more in a very litigious society, and especially when inmates are getting picked up in different counties, they're very knowledgeable, honestly, about their rights and about the court systems, and are very capable of proceeding with lawsuits and being successful, at least in getting, something done. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that is a very warranted concern from a cost perspective.
Anybody else have any questions for staff here?
Go.
All right.
Answer mine.
So you need 2, basically, for now. Probably could use more, but you're looking.
That was the commitment we made at budget time, was
Yeah.
fill your base.
Take a look.
Still needed more than we would get you to.
Oh, we did. That's all.
What was discussed.
Discussed at budget time. So at this point, it's, we never want to spend more, but like he said, things have changed. I think there at the jail over the years. It just takes more people to take care of some of the problems that we have now. So, if council wants to, we can, I'll entertain a motion if you want to. A motion by Karen, second by Andrew, to add 2 more to the jail staff. All those in favor, right hand.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I will work on some numbers for you to get that to you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully this will alleviate.
I'm not saying I'm not supporting you. I just.
Right. I totally understand.
If we can show the public, we're trying to figure out ways to pay for this with saving overtime. That's what I was getting at there.
I totally understand, and I'll get you some answers on that.
That'd just be the overtime that you're actually working for the jail, though, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that you've called out.
Yes.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you
gentlemen.
very much. Appreciate it.
All right, next on the agenda, we have an additional appropriation for the solid waste management district. First reading.
Yeah, you're going to have an additional for the solid waste management district landfill cell construction. And I can't remember which one of you's on the solid waste board. Is that Preston?
Preston, you're on the solid waste.
Let me
We all are.
Okay, maybe you
Yeah,
can
let me
explain
think.
it
Yeah.
a little better.
Would you like to go over that?
I don't have the details in front of me, but
I don't.
just a,
All I got is subtitle D, landfill cell construction.
yeah, it's the last cell left at the landfill, and we're awarded, what was that, Preston, last month?
Yeah, it was.
And needs to get started.
But that'll be for your approval in your June meeting.
Yeah, the first reading today, so no vote until June, correct?
Correct.
Yes. They send you something to read on that, or?
No, I mean, subtitle D, landfill cell construction.
Yeah, I think it's around 600,000 or something is total on it. But I don't know what
So if we don't read it today, then we do our first reading next month then?
I forget, let me look here.
Because we have to read it.
Right,
Nothing was
it's
read.
basically them just stating what is needed there, and it is the construction of that new cell. So,
Do you have the numbers of what they're asking for?
For you downstairs.
We just needed to,
Yeah,
Go
I got
ahead
it
as
here.
a
I got
first
it here.
read. You
Yeah.
got it?
It's 669,464 is what the total was. Yes, for the D cells construction, yeah. And it was awarded to Walls Excavating LLC.
Someone could be here next time too for the second.
Yeah, that mayor, something, yeah, that's good.
Probably proceed with your meeting and go grab her. She'd probably come up here and explain it in more detail.
you want to have her,
I can go get
Michelle?
No.
Michelle, get her, we'll have her come up, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and we'll come back to that. Next item, Salem Economic Growth Partnership here. I think the mayor's here this morning. We're graced with his presence.
I'm gonna send a bill.
Yeah, well, join the club.
I was looking for the coffee. I'm still,
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway.
Gerald didn't make it
We don't have to get here. Mike.
We're trying to cut back.
Gerald usually
Well,
makes it.
next time, would you like me to bring for everybody?
Well, yeah,
We can-
donuts too while you're at it.
All right. Hey, yes, gang, please. Salem Economic Development Commission, so I want to back up, not to be confused with the Growth Partnership, not to be confused with the Redevelopment Commission. This is a separate entity, a separate board. The Salem Economic Development Commission, under Indiana Code, Salem has that board to oversee the request of any bonding requests that come out of the Salem Redevelopment Commission. Don't want to overlap or confuse what this board does and what this, the function of that board is. They don't meet on a regular basis. It is called meetings. Quite frankly, they have not met as an active board since the Walmart development came about from Cedarwood Development. So statutorily, as the board is listed as appointments, the county council has an appointment referred to the mayor, and then I approve it. Your current board member has expired. The term for Jonathan Spalding has run out, and so there may be some needs forthcoming of the Salem Redevelopment Commission, of the Salem Economic Development Commission to have a meeting. And so please, I have spoke with your appointee, Mr. Jonathan Spalding. He's fine to be reappointed. Guys, I think he's a viable candidate. I would recommend you reappoint him and then me approve him at my next opportunity. So that's what I have for today, please. But he's fine to sit there, and I think he would do you fine as your representation.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, Jonathan's been on there for
Yes.
a while.
Yes, he has. That is true.
And like the mayor said, this is something that they don't meet unless needed.
Right.
So we just haven't had anything, but on the horizon, there will probably be some things coming up. So we need to make that appointment again. And if Jonathan is willing to do so, my recommendation as well would be to go ahead and put him back on that. So I just need a motion.
I'll second.
By Todd, second
Yeah.
by Gerald. All those in favor, right hand. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Make the mayor.
All right. Hey, there's Tammy.
Hi.
Tammy, can you go over that or have that reading for what is needed now? Or that first reading for the
New
solid
cell.
waste, the new cell?
Okay, so we're going to be doing our landfill construction for the next cell. It'd be for the last cell. It's about 2 acres. So we owe approximately $400,000 on our construction loan. So that's what the additional's for.
Well, we needed to have that first reading so that we can vote next meeting at the second reading. So That's why we wanted you to come up this morning. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay.
I should have said something prior, but
You said-
anyway, that's the first reading. So any questions for Tammy?
I have one, and it's probably not a good question, but however, you see, I heard the word used last sale. Is it, can you,
It's it's cell number 8. It'd be the last cell of our existing footprint for the landfill. So then after this is constructed, we'll just be going up from there.
you start raising, okay, I understand.
It's not that we're out of room.
Right, I understand.
It's not the last.
It's just the footprint.
Yes.
It's just the footprint
Okay.
that they go through, so,
Thank you.
yeah. So, any other questions for Tammy on that? Then we'll have the, second reading and vote on that at next month's meeting, so. All right, thank you, Tammy. Thank you for
Thanks,
coming
Tammy.
up. All right, next up, reports, any department heads? Stephanie, do you have anything this morning? Are you good?
Well, the state's getting ready to release 4 million cards to verify that your address, so that is going to be dropped on May 16th, so everybody in Washington County, address is correct, you do not have to do anything. If it's not, it's been forwarded to you, then you'll need to update your address with us in for the next election, which is fastly approaching. A lot of election laws that have been passed and stuff that will also affect our court system that will take.
Yeah.
How will that update take place?
I'm sorry.
How will the update be managed?
Our voter roll is updated on a daily basis, 7 days a week. So when those cards come in, they go into the state, they electronically send us that image, and then we have to update.
So if someone's address is not correct, what do they do as the voter?
It's a postcard mailer,
Uh-huh.
the first one that goes out on May 16th. So there are options, there's 3 options for you to choose. And then we get that information back, and then we have to update it. Also, your voter registration is updated through the BMV. We call it death offer. Anybody who passes away. State. So it's constantly maintained. It's updating and constantly nurtured. But
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Demi, do you have anything this morning
I just wanted
to report?
let everybody know, we did qualify for the state disaster relief fund. So that is damage from the April 1st tornado, April 2nd tornado, and the subsequent flooding. That is individual, so individuals have to apply for that themselves. Posted on my Facebook, if anybody needs to go to that main Facebook, and also my personal account. And I'm going to have it in the newspapers too, so that people can go ahead and sign up for the disaster relief. It starts out, the minimum maximum they can now is 2,000 to get them started, but then they'll do the process and it can go up to 25,000.
Thank you. Thank you for your work there. Yes, Stephanie, I'm sorry.
If I could say one more thing.
Yes.
I know I talked to Brent directly afterwards. I had the opportunity to, the Eastern Student Council, do a tour with them. And since I took office, always want to know the ins and outs of every department, because together we make the puzzle piece of Washington County government. I thought I knew what the Sheriff's Department and the jail did, but my eyes were open to my core by taking an in-depth tour that Ward took us on. Thoroughly into that jail, and not all in. To make those numbers on your paper come to life and know how underpaid they are and understaffed they are, please take contact with jail, because I don't know if it was an episode of Scared Straight or possibly a 60 Days In episode minus the host of that show. But literally, it was very eye-opening. I mean, I spent all weekend just thinking about it, and, you know, please, I know you guys are all busy, but to make those numbers come to life on budget time, because when you hear those numbers as a taxpayer, and then you see like, oh, we need 3, well, people need sick employees. If that happens, I don't even know what they do then. If you're supposed to have 3, you that the inmates catch on to that, and they know, and if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Danielle, do you have anything? Oh, good. You guys? Okay. Didn't cook anything today, did you? I'm still waiting on it. It's Wednesday? Okay, all right. Yes, Brent.
Hey, just real quick, since we haven't talked about it for a while, I wanted to give you an update on my deputy positions. In March of this year, we had 4 openings on the department up there. We were able to hire Ryan Ader to fill one of those 4 positions. He was not a police officer, so he does have to go to the academy. He's been in the FTO program now. He's doing great. We were also able to hire Joe Johnson from Scott County. He is a police officer. He's been through the academy. He's got approximately 19 years of experience. He has been a great fit for the department. He hits the ground running, and he is doing a great job for us. We have also hired a Cody Powell, who is not a police officer. He is in our FTO program right now. He has to go to the academy. I believe that Chief Deputy Shepard has both of them scheduled to go to the academy in July of this year. So hopefully, get them in the academy and get them through there, and we'll be good to go. We currently have 1 position open on the department to fill. We are currently taking applications for that 1 spot, and we will be having a physical agility coming up soon to hopefully fill that remaining spot. So hopefully we can get to a full staff deputy-wise soon.
Good.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? All right. Alyssa, do you have anything else this morning?
Nothing further from me.
Nothing further? Kyra's gone. Michelle, how about you?
No.
No? Nothing further. All right. Board comments and concerns. I'm going to start off here, and we sent you guys out some information on the new law that the state is currently getting ready to pass, probably going to the governor. But it's SB 1, if you haven't looked at it. And the reason why I brought that up this morning is our preliminary indications are that it's not going to affect our funding too much moving forward, but not saying that that can't change by the time they finalize everything. And what it is, in a nutshell, is some property tax relief, which everybody wants that. We don't want to pay any more property taxes than we have to, but also, with that being said, a lot of our revenue for the county comes from property taxes. So I just wanted y'all to be aware of it, kind of keep an eye on this bill to see where it goes from here, because if we take a bigger hit than what we think we're going to, at that point we got to find somewhere to get money to offset that deficiency that we may not receive. As I said, I'm not trying to incite any panic here, but if it does hit us hard, there are some counties that are going to be hit hard. There's going to be some school districts that are going to get hit hard. So just keep it on the back burner, because it's something that we're going to have to watch and see where it all ends up. So Michelle was gracious enough to send out a lot of information on it. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that moving forward as we'll head into budget time coming up here in just a couple short months. So keep that in the back of your mind. That's all I have this morning. We'll go around the room here. Karen, do you have anything this morning? Nope. Preston? Nope. Todd?
I just want to say thank you to Danielle for, we went to the fairgrounds last week, and I think it was very eye-opening to see that building, its current state of condition, how poor state it is in, between the rodents and the sewer problems there, and then to visually see how the new footprint actually will open it up for more space and give them plenty of room for their offices there. So I just want to say thank you for that, and it was very eye-opening. I think it was a good deal, and we should probably do the same thing like Stephanie just recommended, to do that with the jail sometime. I think it would be good for all of us.
Yeah, I woke up Saturday. I live right across from the fairgrounds, so I hear. So I thought maybe I'd passed on because I was hearing these voices, and it was the auctioneer or whatever, the announcer over there was talking. I kept thinking, where's this voice coming from? There was a lot of people at the fairgrounds. It was packed. So yes, I agree. Andrew, good. Brad?
I don't have anything.
Good. Gerald?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Young, do you have anything this morning?
Just a small update. You know, the wheels of government sometimes turn slowly. In regards to the 4-H building, we're kind of a victim of circumstance here. The new governor has got on the good, bad, or otherwise, he's got on the Elon Musk Trump kick, and which is good in some ways, looking at all the that the state entities out. Our stirred by the RDA and bills. Then it's passed to the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and the people who sit on the IEDC board are appointed by the governor. All these people were appointed by the former governor. The new governor is wanting to audit the they have placed a new director for the IEDC, my understanding is, and until they audit money away from us, they've just kind of, they're wanting to look at the numbers. So the bids, that's what's slowing the bids up. We were going to plan on taking bids for 1st of April, but you know, it's going to be prolonged probably a month here, so that's kind of waiting on the big dogs.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Yep. All right. If that's all that we have this morning. Mr. Cardwell, I didn't ask you if you had anything this morning. Okay. Didn't want to pass over you. If that's all we have this morning, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Gilbert makes a motion, second by Andrew. All those in favor, right hand. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.